I wanted these to not only live in someone's life as a vase or a bowl or a jar, but as something that might allude to some other memories that that viewer might have in their life. And so the way that I decided to try to layer these references into my pots was simply to look to things that I was drawn to around me. So I look at terracing in nature. I look at vegetables that have a low sense of gravity, low, wide volume. So eggplant and patty pan squash, kohlrabi for the rounded volume of the vegetable, and then has wonderful upright stems growing straight up. So I'm looking at things not only that come from the history of ceramics, like Song Dynasty pots, but also at things that aren't at all pots. And so trying to use those as clues that can help me solve the problem of making this form. And so my hope is, in that layering different things into my pots, that I put enough layers in there that the viewer may then be able to look at the pieces and travel to some imaginary place in their own heads, whether it's the place that I was thinking about or not. I hope that it allows them to imagine another space that isn't just a vase for flowers or a jar for cookies or a platter. It's about going in and altering some texture or lines or facets that I've put on one side of the clay, and then on the other side pushing against it and seeing what happens. So there's a bit of a surprise that happens for me at that moment also, where I've set up a structure that I think will do something, and then when I push against it I see something else, which is a really fun kind of moment. And that happens best when it's very, very wet, because you have the most elasticity in the clay at that time. So I'm generally throwing, depending on what the form is, between 5 to 10 to 15 in a series. And so that allows you to sort of warm physically, your body to warm up to the motions of opening that and pulling that and faceting that and then making the pushes. And so once you're warmed up like that, then when you step back and you have those 10 vases at the end of the day, it allows you to then edit and pick the 5 best or the 8 best out of that series and really nail it down formally that way. And I think I think of that as kind of body memory. It's kind of like that warm up is you're a little stiff, you're a little self-conscious, and in the early pots in a series, and then kind of in the middle I'll nail it, and then I get a little tired towards the end. So it's generally that kind of rhythm. When I'm building some of my jars, I'm literally sort of traveling through the landscape of that jar as I'm making it. I'm traveling from the bottom of the pot up, thinking of myself sort of in the foreground, and then traveling back into the distance, into the hills or into the clouds in the distance. And so my hope is that maybe with some of the very best pieces, or with some of the very best relationships with their owners, that person might have some sort of imaginary escape that might happen.